I went to Target this morning at 8 a.m. because that's when they sell Pokemon cards, 8 a.m. on Friday. And I got there at about 8:10. There was already a line of 30 plus people. And some of them didn't even know what they were looking at. I literally heard someone ask the store employee, "Is this Pokemon?" Like, they didn't even know what they were looking at. Like, hey, Nick from 9Card TCG, and today we're going to be talking about different card games, because maybe you're looking for something to play. Maybe you're bored in quarantine, or maybe you just are bored of what you're currently doing and you want something different. Well, we're going to talk about something different today. We're going to be talking about the big three trading card games in America, and that is Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering. Not necessarily in that order, although Pokemon, I think, grosses the most amount of money, but that's not the point. So we're going to be talking about these three games, and we're going to look at it from 3 points of view. The first is price. Are you willing or are you able to spend the money to start playing the game? The second is going to be barriers to entry. Is the game extremely difficult to start playing, or can you start playing relatively quickly? And the third is availability of product. Okay, you have the means to buy the cards and you understand how to play. Can you actually get the cards to play? So that's what we're going to focus on, and we're going to start with Pokemon because it will be our reference for the rest of the video. Pokemon has a pretty decent price point. You can buy some quality budget decks for $50 to $60, which means for somewhere between $70 and $80, you can probably get everything you need to start playing. You can get your deck, your sleeves, your damage counters, your deck box, and maybe even a playmat. Not a necessity, but something you should get for a pretty good price. And when I say you can get a deck for $50, you might be wondering, like, how bad is this deck gonna be? There are some pretty good decks like Mad Party and Decidueye that you can get for about $45 to $55, depending on where you buy the cards from. So price point is there. I mean, there's no better game to start playing for your money. Can you actually get the cards? Well, if you're looking to buy sealed product and open the packs and try to get the card yourself, oh boy, Pokemon is struggling real hard with that. I mean, you are either going to have to look high and low, get super lucky, or pay a premium price on eBay, Amazon, something like that, to get a product so you can open it yourself. And if you're just getting into the game, I don't know if I would recommend that. I would say get your deck, start playing, don't spend a ton of money, see if you even like playing, and then invest more money if you are convinced you like it. But that brings us to the third point, barriers to entry. Is it hard to start playing Pokemon the trading card game? And the answer is no, it's really not. If you can get your hands on some cards, you can get a deck or whatever you need to start playing. Learning to play the game is pretty simple. The rules are really basic. There are a ton of Pokemon YouTubers who explain the rules of the games, and you can download the Pokemon Trading Card Game online app, which teaches you how to play in a really, honestly, good manner. They take you through a couple of games, and you do a bunch of like tutorial and practice games, and you learn the game that way. There's a lot more to the game than what the tutorial shows you. It's just to give you an idea of basic rules, but even the app will go as far as to help you resolve card effects, and sometimes it'll even suggest cards for you to play or do during your turn if you're really stuck. So it's a really good app and a really good way to learn the game. Another aspect of barriers to entry is that, Pokemon has been around for a long time. I think the game released in America in like 1998 or 1999 was like the first set ever released, and it's been going since then. So you got 20 years roughly of cards being released. But even though there's been thousands and thousands of cards released, there are only a handful that you actually have to learn. Every game is going to have what we call meta decks. Those are the meta decks are the best decks, or like the elite decks that are available in the game at this particular moment. And the meta changes as new cards come and as current cards leave. Yes, cards leave. So Pokemon has what's called a format rotation, which means every year certain sets of cards that were released are no longer valid for standard competitive play, and you can only use these sets. And for a new player, that's actually a really good thing in my opinion, because the number of cards you have to learn is a lot smaller, and you get to focus your money on certain sets. So you don't have to buy sets from 3 years ago in order to stay competitive and relevant, because they're not valid for standard play. So that's Pokemon. One of the criticisms that I have with Pokemon outside of product availability is in terms of play, in terms of gameplay. Sometimes it can feel kind of stagnant and boring, because as decks rise to the top of, like, once people realize what the elite decks are, you're gonna see a ton of them, and that's expected. But because Pokemon does not have a way for you to really interact with your opponent, meaning your opponent plays a card, there's really nothing you can do about it. Whereas the other games we're going to talk about do have counters, but we'll get to that. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you will be playing a lot of similar decks because people like to play the decks that win. So, it's one criticism that I'll mention right now. The next game is Magic the Gathering. And Magic the Gathering is older than I am. I know I have boyish good looks, but I'm 31, and Magic is older than me. And like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering has format rotations, so in terms of barrier to entry, it's pretty similar to Pokemon. The cards can be a little more complicated, and the rules are, I would say, comparable in terms of complexity as Pokemon. If you've ever played Pokemon, or you understand to a degree how Pokemon is played, you will roughly understand how Magic the Gathering is played. There are obviously big differences, and we're not going to go into the rules, but I wanted to kind of start with accessibility, because it's honestly not terribly complicated to learn. Like I said, some of the card effects are a little more complicated, and the strategies used are higher. They are bigger brain strategies than most Pokemon decks and games. If you're looking for something that's a little more challenging, then Magic is probably the game for you. But even though you decided that Magic is probably more your skill level or more the challenge you're looking for, can you find the cards? But even though you decided that Magic is the skill level you're looking for and the challenge you want, can you even find the cards? So the second point is product availability, and the answer is a resounding yes. Every time I have gone to Target, Walmart, local game store to try to find Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering has been stocked out like crazy. I have never seen the shelves empty for Magic the Gathering, and that includes other people's photos, videos, whatever, there's always Magic the Gathering. And that's not to say that the community isn't as big as Pokemon, it's just the cards aren't as sought after as Pokemon in terms of collector items, unless you're part of the Magic the Gathering community. I don't really know why Pokemon cards have become this huge collector thing that people Jake Paul or Logan Paul, whatever Paul and other people are doing box breaks and openings and spending $20,000 on a first edition booster box and all this kind of whatever they're spending. I don't know why it got like that. Maybe they just really like Pokemon. They want to open packs for their audience, and cool, but other people see this as a huge cash cow. Magic the Gathering, not so much. However, just because the cards are available doesn't mean it's not expensive to play. Pokemon, the cards are cheaper from some of the budget decks, and even some of the more meta decks. You might be spending $150, $200 on a deck, I would say at the upper limit. There are Magic the Gathering decks that are $600, $650, and it gets ridiculous depending on the deck that you're trying to play because of mythic rares. There are some decks that require 4 mythic rares that are, for the 4, they are $250, $300 for just the 4 cards, which is bruh. So getting into Magic is a little harder because the skill level is higher, there's more strategies, there's more variation in decks, so there's more things to learn. The cards are a little bit more complicated, and as a result, like I said, the strategies, and getting a really good deck can be very, very expensive, but playing and winning, I think, is a little bit more satisfying than in Pokemon, because in Magic, when your opponent plays a card, they summon a creature, they play a spell, you have the ability to stop it. You can counter it, and you can add effects on top of their cards to like stack, and you know, the gameplay becomes a lot more interactive, and you have to really pick and choose your moments to do something. So Magic the Gathering could be a really good option, but are there places to play? And the answer is, oh yeah. Magic the Gathering has 2 online apps. They have Magic the Gathering Online, which you play on your computer, and then they have Magic the Gathering Arena, which I think you can play on your computer, but also your phone and tablet. And what is the difference? Very brief summary. Magic the Gathering Arena, on the one you play on your phone, is much more new player oriented. It's a lot closer to a regular app, and they use like coins and gems or whatever for you to buy packs and you play. Cool. Magic the Gathering Online is very different. It's for more serious veteran players. Don't get me wrong, a new player could absolutely jump right into MTGO, but they might find it a little harder to understand what's happening, and I think it's a little easier for a newer player to maybe buy things they don't need or trade things that they shouldn't trade. Also, the economy is a little bit different between the apps, meaning how you go about buying and trading cards. In MTGO, you own the card, even though it's a digital copy. The thing about that, though, means that the price of digital cards for MTGO is about the same as the price for physical cards. So buying cards in MTGO is not really cheaper than buying physical cards. And if you want to have your deck physical and digital, well, you're spending double the money. Whereas in Pokemon, you're spending a fraction of the money to get your cards digital because you don't own them. Yeah, they're in your account, but they're just digital copies of cards that you have possession of. You don't own them the way you do in MTGO. MTGA, Magic the Gathering Arena, for newer players, is like PTCGO. There's coins and you can buy stuff, but you don't really own it. It's just digital copies of cards. As a result, there are a lot of online tournaments for Magic the Gathering. You can play in webcam tournaments, and you can also play in MTGO tournaments. I think MTGA has events, but don't quote me on it. Do your research, and I hate saying that because I sound like such an ass. Do a quick Google search to see what events are going on for the different games before you start buying cards if you want to play in any competition. Maybe you're just looking to play casually or whatever, go to your local game store once in a while, but I would still recommend finding out when they do events, how often, and about how many people are there before you start buying any cards. The last game we're going to talk about is we did Pokemon already. The last game we're going to talk about is Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is another really large competitive trading card game, and it's been around since I was in junior high. It's been around since like 2000, 2002 or something like that. It's been around for quite a while, almost as long as Pokemon. What makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Different is that there is no format rotation. There's just a ban list, which means cards from 20 years ago are still legal today. And so as far as barriers to entry go, it's way, way higher. There are a ton of cards you have to know. Reading the cards can get really complicated. Sometimes they have just walls of text, and what makes it so challenging is that if your opponent has 5 cards in the field, which 5 cards isn't really a lot of cards, they all have different effects, and they all activate at different times. So one one of your opponent's effects can activate during the main phase. One can happen at the end of the turn. One can happen during the battle phase, and you have to keep track of all of that. Which card is doing what phase of the turn you're in, because yes, turns in Yu-Gi-Oh have different phases. Magic does too, but not as defined as Yu-Gi-Oh, I think. And so there's way more stuff to keep track of. And also, when you play something, your opponent can counter it just like they could in Magic, but then you can counter the counter just like you could in Magic. So strategies and decision making is absolute big brain in Yu-Gi-Oh! I've watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Matches and I don't understand them, because the number of things that you can do between Tribute Summon, Normal Summon, Special Summon, Flip Summon, Fusion Summon, Ritual Summon, XZ Summon, Synchro Summon, Link Summon. I mean, come on. And I think there's even another one that I'm missing. There's so many things that go on in Yu-Gi-Oh! That it is complicated. But like in Magic, winning a game in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty damn satisfying because of the effort that goes into winning. So barriers to entry for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably the highest out of the three. However, can you even get cards to start playing? What's product availability like? I haven't really seen a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards in different stores. Granted, I'm not really looking, so it's easy to miss something you're not looking for. Occasionally I'll see maybe some packs, or occasionally I'll see some structure decks, but in terms of sealed product, it seems not as hard as Pokemon, but definitely way harder than Magic. So it's somewhere in the middle as far as getting actual cards. Like Pokemon and like Magic, you can buy singles through places like TCGPlayer and eBay and other online stores, and probably local game stores, like real local card stores, will have singles ready to sell for the major card games anyway. But what about price? So more often than not in Yu-Gi-Oh! Your decks are going to cost somewhere between $100 and $200. There you go. There's all three games. I think if you're looking for just the simplest game to play, Pokemon is the way, and it's also the cheapest, and online support is pretty good. Magic the Gathering, probably the more expensive, or easier to be much more expensive, and pretty challenging. They do have good online support as well with MTGO and MTGA. Yu-Gi-Oh! I did forget to mention the online apps. So there is Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. It's an app on your phone. It's like a watered down version of Yu-Gi-Oh! You don't get as many spots to play cards, so the games tend to be a little bit faster. And they do have Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Nexus. Duel Nexus is incredible. It's not particularly user-friendly. It can be a little frustrating to figure out what the game wants you to do or what you should be clicking on, but once you do, using it is incredible because it's a free reservoir of every card that's been printed, and you can make any deck you want totally for free, and then you can go play against a computer or other people, and it's a way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Without having to spend a cent. So it's really good to try it if you want to build a deck. Maybe you have a deck in mind, but it's a little expensive. It's like $150, $175, and you're like, I don't know if I want to spend that money. Go to Duel Nexus and try the deck for free. See if you like it, see if it wins, and then make your decision. Maybe you gotta change some stuff, whatever. Because the last thing you want to do is spend $150 on a deck and realize, I can't win a game with this damn thing. As far as real events go, Konami, the manufacturer or the producer of Yu-Gi-Oh! Does have online tournaments that are played through webcam, and if you go on their official website, then you can find different stores that are running official events, and you join their Discord and you just do what they tell you, and it is played through webcam, so you do need the physical cards. Unlike Pokemon trading card game online tournaments and MTGO and MTGA, you do not need the physical cards, so one thing to consider. That is going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, found this a little informative, and maybe made you change your mind about a game that you were looking at playing. There are obviously other card games. There's like a Dragon Ball game, there's Hearthstone, there's Digimon, but those are much smaller in popularity and community size, at least in America. So if you do want to play a game that is a smaller group of people and maybe doesn't have like the price problems that Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic can suffer from, those might be decent options. But again, I would really consider population size as a factor. You do not want to spend money on a game and get invested in the game only to find out that you never have the chance to play. If you enjoyed this video, don't be afraid to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you never miss another video. If you really enjoyed the video and you want to help out the channel, hit the like button and leave a comment below on which card game you currently play or what maybe you want to play in the future. And if you absolutely love my content and I need more of this guy in my life, well then follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Links in the description below. I don't know why I did that. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.